either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Hear ye, in this here podcast of The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, I'm Nico.
And I'm Chris.
And we are here to review A Tale as Old as Time, two identical women of different stations with the same CGI model that the only way you can tell them apart is to make their hair different colors. Brought together over wanting to escape their so similar situations, or stations, in the very first ever Barbie musical, Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper. I'm a little angry and seething with you for tricking me into another musical.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
You're welcome. I did think of you and not pick the most annoying side character, Bibble, to make you review.
I know you've brought up Bibble. I can't remember who the fuck Bibble is.
Bibble is a blue puffball who is sentient in the fairy universe of Barbie.
You sent me to him and his voice is really dumb.
It's really dumb,
yes.
And he is well and loved and beloved. However, he is the most annoying little thing ever to be created, so I chose the second most annoying thing, musicals.
Yep. Yeah. If you haven't guessed, this is Chris's bad choice for the bingo game from last season.
Yes, it is, because while I think, and I think a lot of people agree with me, this is the best CGI Barbie movie, it's still bad. I grew up watching this movie. I love this movie. I know I'm not alone because the fan pages for this movie are lengthy and numerous. But we all need to come together and hold our hands and admit that Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper, and most Barbie's movies in general, are just, unfortunately, in the bad category, no matter what we do.
Yeah, and even then, this is my first Barbie movie. I haven't even seen the 2023 Barbie.
Yes. Okay, so that one does not count in the Barbie cinematic universe,
Jesus.
Which is a real thing. There are 52 animated or streaming films that are in the Barbie animated universe. The live-action Barbie is not. It is a separate thing. It lives totally canonically by itself, and Mattel treats it differently.
What about the Barbies from Toy Story? Is this world connected, or...?
Technically, yes. Toy Story had to get explicit permission from Mattel to have the Barbies in Toy Story. It was one of the many toy lines that they had to receive permission, and Barbie was one of the hardest, which is why Barbie's not in the first one, actually.
Yeah, and also it would have taken away from Bo Peep.
It would have taken away from Bo Peep, but also, at the time, Mattel wasn't sure that Toy Story was A, going to do Barbie well, and B, was going to actually make enough money to, be good for Barbie.
I think by Toy Story, in Toy Story 1, but by
Toy Story 2, they knew, and thus Barbie showed up. This isn't the first animated one, this is actually the fourth animated one.
Yeah, which, it took them 3 movies to get to a musical.
I'm as shocked as you, but also not, because if you look at the original run styling of Barbie, a lot of it was recreation of classical literature. This is a recreation of Mark Twain's story. So, them making it to Mark Twain and then thinking maybe it should be a musical, not terribly surprising. Partially because the entire reason the Barbie cinematic universe exists at all is because it was a response to poor doll sale declining and a growing interest in the digital interactive media. The first one is the famous Christmas one, Barbie and the Nutcracker. And while it sold really well and is still a beloved and treasured movie, Mattel wasn't crazy sure if Barbie movies were going to do well. They had a hunch, they kind of were hoping that this would, be able to drive a doll line collection. Barbie and the Nutcracker did amazing. By the time Barbie as Rapunzel came out, which is the second one, they were already ready with the toy line. It was going to have, this is where we started seeing not just the doll release, but also a castle and a car or vehicle released along with the movie. That is something that continued for a really long time. Still continues, kind of, to this day. A little harder, because a lot of the newer ones are set more modern. This is also the first Barbie movie, and one of the fewer Barbie movies of the original releasing, the first, 15-ish, that did not explicitly have fanciful creatures like mermaids, unicorns, fairies. There's magic, because it's Barbie, but it's not explicitly, fantasy. It's just creativity. The animals kind of sort of talk, but not really.
Yeah.
You know?
I can see what you're saying, and talking about that timeline, I can see that now. First Barbie came out in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So what? Just shortly after Y2K and that whole scare and whatnot. So
oh, definitely.
Yeah, I can definitely see where they wanted to get into that market. I mean, all these are all these TV movies, or are they?
So kind of. Barbie, none of the original Barbie movies came out in theaters, but Nickelodeon aired most of them as original runs, and then also they were released simultaneously on DVD for the most part, with the exception of a few. There are a few that were TV only, and then there was for a while a few that were choose your own adventure. They were on Netflix, and they were interactive. Unfortunately, especially like I think last year, maybe Netflix like took down all of its interactive movies, including the Barbie one, including the Puss in Boots one. So like you can still technically, if you sail the seven seas, find those ones, but they're a little harder to come by.
Yeah, it might be easier. I don't know. I mean, granted, I try and find a bunch of obscure movies all the time, but that's
most Barbie movies are very easy to get. This movie alone was re-released 5 different times.
Jesus Christ.
Not standalone, but as like repackaging with a different movie that maybe wasn't selling so well. It would be released again as a double feature DVD or sometimes a 4-feature DVD. Because while the Barbie franchise has made a shit ton of money and been very good for Mattel, there are 52 of them. And they drastically differ in success and, like, likability.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I think I'm good already with just one.
Look, I like the Barbie franchise. I find them fun. I find them hilarious because most of them are really stupid and a good time to just giggle for 80 minutes, 60 to 80 minutes. But even I haven't seen all 52 of them. I know there are people who have, and they own them all, and, like, good for you guys. I've seen 30-ish of them.
Jesus Christ.
Partially because, like, as a kid, like, my cousins had some.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up as a girl.
Seeing them, I'm coming at this from the viewpoint of I've never seen one until this one.
Yeah, no, I grew up with these, and also, like, all my cousins were like, I had a lot of girl cousins, I had a lot of girl friends, and they would re-release a bunch of these in, like, packs of 4 DVD, where, like, one DVD would have 4 movies on it.
Yeah.
So it was really easy to get through a bunch of these at a sleepover.
Okay.
So, like, we watched a ton of these. We definitely have favorites. Everyone has favorites. But from a general consensus amongst my own friends who remember watching these growing up, and just general fan consensus in general, this one is by far one of the most popular ones. If not a lot of people's ultimate favorite. Partially because the music's actually pretty good. Like, the CGI is bad, but, like, it's not that bad. It doesn't burn my eyeballs like some movies do.
Yeah, there were a couple people that I mentioned that we were watching this, and they're like, oh, I love that one.
It's especially if you get to some of... Honestly, okay, so there's, like, 3-ish different eras of Barbie movies, and they do kind of change visually what they look like, because Barbie's still continuing. Like, there are still new CGI Barbie movies being made.
Yeah, there's one that came out, last year or something? Or this year?
Yeah, and times change with computer technology and animation preference styling changes. This looks bad, but partially that's because this is the style of lower budget CGI animation movies of the time. The newer ones I think look bad, but that's just because they're the style of today, and I'm not a big fan of the current animation style.
Yeah, make Barbie in the style of Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, there are. There are some that are kind of like that. None of them are 2D. Everything's always 3D. That was always part of the, like, Mattel trademark, was they wanted this to feel like when you got your real doll that they were definitely going to be selling you, you would be able to play with her in the same way that you see on the movie. And for the most part, this was very successful. This movie had, I think, 5-ish dolls, a full castle, a full, like...
Of course it did.
It had the horse, like, all the pets, of course, you could buy. And, like, this was... Honestly, the dolls for this movie are maybe some of the worst. A lot of the dolls that came with the Barbie movies were things where, like, the dress would magically transform. The mermaid ones were usually water or heat activated, so, like, hair would change colors, scales would change colors. Several of them had, like, pop-out wings for the fairy movies. They were really cool dolls, and while the movies aren't explicitly selling the dolls, Mattel is a doll company first.
The dolls are selling the movie.
And the dolls for a lot of these movies were pretty damn cool. Granted, the dolls aren't bad here, and a lot of people really think fondly of the carriage, because it's a big carriage and it is honestly pretty cool. and the castle, but I think a lot of that is nostalgia sake, because later we got carriages that transformed and castles that sang and danced. So, like, this was a little early in the time, but they could wear each other's dresses, so that was cool.
All right, I'll take your word for it. But Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper is based on the Barbie characters by Ruth Handler. Yep. And as you said, it's loosely inspired by Mark Twain, The Prince and the Pauper.
Yeah.
And it's written by Cliff Ruby and Alana Lesser, directed by William Lau, starring Kelly Sheridan as Princess Annalise and Erica both.
Yes.
For the voices only.
Of course.
Julie Stevens as Erica's singing voice. Melissa Lyons as Princess Annalise's singing voice, and Martin Short as Preminger.
Yeah, Martin's in this, and he is maybe part of the reason this movie's so well liked. This character and his delivery is one of the funniest things that has happened to Barbie in a long time.
Yeah.
Also, fun little fact, Kelly has been Barbie since the beginning. She was the voice of Barbie from 2001 all the way to 2010, where she took a little break, and then was again the voice of Barbie from 2012 to 2015. She is what you think of when you hear Barbie.
And also, while Martin Short might be more recognizable, Sheridan also might be familiar for many of us as the big boomerang chick from Inuyasha. I don't remember her name.
Sengo.
Scarlet Witch from X-Men Evolutions, as well as many other anime dubs since 1979. She's been in a lot.
She's been in a lot, but she is very recognizably Barbie. In fact, a lot of people with the live-action Barbie were a little worried that Barbie wouldn't sound like Barbie anymore. Fair, because we all have heard Barbie, the same Barbie, for a really long time.
Yeah, it's like if the new Shrek, they recast everyone.
Yeah, I would be a little worried, because it's very iconic. Everyone else who voices, with the exception of Martin, it's Martin Short, you've seen him on just about everything.
Jack Frost in Santa Claus 3.
Some really great SNL skits, if you'd like. Most of everyone else is famous. You just don't recognize them because they're mostly from kids shows, but you've probably seen a couple episodes. People starring in everything from X-Men all the way down to the Hot Wheels franchise. Most of these people are very well voice acted. It's not like these are unknown talents. It's just that it's weird having the CGI lineup with such really good voices.
Yeah.
It feels a little off at times.
Yeah, we'll get into it. So.
Yeah.
Before we do get into it, Chris, what are we drinking?
Well, we have a fancy cocktail called a diamond ring. Yes. How quaint.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That is delightful.
It's different.
It is different, but it's good.
Yeah. Before we get into the movie itself, I do enjoy with this DVD, while there was no special features or anything around it.
There's never with Barbie.
The DVD had a help menu of how to work a TV remote. Granted,
it's cute.
This is I had to take a step back because I forgot it's 2004. My brother, for my mom to use our PlayStation 2 as a DVD player, drew it out and like, hey, this is what this button does.
We had duct tape over the not usable buttons on ours. Yeah. No, like, honestly, the menu for this Barbie isn't anything super special, but this is the first Barbie movie to have bloopers, which...
we'll get into that at the end.
Okay.
So, Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper. Very storybook opening.
Very. Honestly, something of very classically Barbie.
Yeah, I mean, it's your pretty standard setup. You got your princess born to the royalty. You got your peasants with a giant-ass window at ground level to let all the horseshit in while it's raining.
Don't worry about it.
And also so many shitty stills with really bad Photoshop filters.
Yeah, okay, this isn't the most beautiful looking Barbie.
No, it is ugly.
It is very ugly, even by old Barbie movie standards. I think if you're looking for pretty, you probably want the Christmas special, but also, I've watched a lot of very shitty, very low-budget movies, and I would argue that this looks significantly better than Swan Lake 3.
Okay, I will agree this is much better. I watched this movie last week called Bigfoot vs. Krampus.
Yeah, I know, I saw.
It is such dog shit animation. It felt like really bad video games, and like it was barely animated.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people feel like 2D animation covers a lot of these errors better, and I do kind of agree. But I do see what Mattel was doing here with just sticking with their guns with the 3D animation, because these do feel very much like the dolls are just alive in the film. Mm-hmm. So I see the vision. I just don't know if it has aged well at all.
Yeah, I have zero reference again first one, so I don't know anything other than this one.
Yeah, and like I've also seen several of the new ones, just partially as reference, partially because I have younger like family members who are now getting into Disney as they're growing up. I do think I still like this version better because while this one is bad, it at least like everyone is like this, like, I don't know, there's a consistency.
Yes, it's consistently shit.
It is, and honestly, a lot of the early, like, Barbie release movies, they all have the exact same level of shit, which I will give Mattel credit for, because this is something that Disney has not done, and I would argue that most people, if you like Barbie, you're also a Disney fan as a kid. The Disney sequels significantly drop in quality. The Barbie is significantly always consistent.
The one thing I will say, at least, from what you told me about how beloved all this is...
It is.
There are not, like, Barbie girls the way there's Disney adults.
There...
Barbie adults. That's the term, Barbie adults.
I hate to tell you this, but
God fucking no, God.
There are, but you don't want to know who the predominant lover of Barbie is.
Gay men.
Yes!
Shocking.
Yes.
Shocking.
Strongly. And honestly, I kind of get it. Because especially older Barbies, and especially older Barbie movies, and granted, the new ones I think have fallen off the trend just a little bit, but old Barbie was a confident person who was usually always prepared. Granted, she's always a damsel, she's always dainty, and she always takes the least form of resistance. But she is a prepared person who does a lot of different things. So many things that a lot of people have wondered how all of these are canonically Barbie in all 52 movies. And there is no answer, because some of these universes are connected and directly quote or are sequels of each other, and other ones there's no possible way that this is all the same woman.
Into the Barbie-verse.
There are multiple people who've tried to figure out who Barbie is in the Barbie cinematic universe, and the best anyone has come up with is that she is an actress. Yeah. Which is canonic in one line of the Barbie universes, where Barbie is canonically an actress playing Barbie in other Barbie movies.
I hate it.
But it's not canonically across all Barbie movies, so, like, I don't know what to tell you.
Alright. But this movie also, and I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, this movie starts off really, really dumb like I don't know if it's like all the other ones.
Yeah.
It starts off with them running out of gold and going bankrupt because of shitty management on the Queen's side. Like, it's such a, like, I get why, like, they put it into that position, but, like, watching this as an adult, it is one of the dumbest reasons to have the country in turmoil at all. It's just like, no, we ran out of gold and we're going bankrupt. It's like,
no, I agree with you. It is a dumb reason. However, I do want to ask, have you read Mark Twain's original story?
No.
Okay. The reason it's dumb is because this is a children's movie, and the Mark Twain one was not for children. It was much more complicated and involved a lot more politics involved.
That'd be better than oh no, I fucked up because I can't manage my money as the ruler of this entire kingdom.
Okay, yes, but also, like, the way that it is done is kind of clever, because you have fallen for the Barbie ploy. There are small details making it very clear that the Queen was not the one who fucked up. Our main bad guy has been siphoning money, and
I know that.
Okay.
But also, at the same time, like, you didn't invest or do anything with this money. You just spent it as you got it.
Okay.
There's no hoard that a dragon's gonna come and eat.
From the ages of 6 to probably 12, honestly maybe 32, I thought investing had something to do with I need cash money and I need my money now.
I
have
start
an annuity.
With that one.
I have an annuity and I need cash now is all I understood about finances, okay? I thought opera people on the bus regularly needed money. This makes plenty of sense for a child, and it's honestly not the main point of the movie.
No, but it's a stupid start and premise for it all.
It is. I will give you some horrible news if you plan on watching the rest of the Barbie franchise. This is not the worst, but it's also pretty average reasoning and logic for a Barbie movie.
Alright.
It's honestly maybe the most financially sound, because Barbie does a lot of questionable things.
Different questionable compared to my questionable.
One of them has Barbie's mom as a canonically queen of the mermaid world and doesn't want to do it, has Barbie, who is a half mermaid, half not mermaid, and her hair is what makes her swim underwater. She has no tail. This makes the most sense.
Okay,
This makes the most sense, I promise.
Alright, I'll take your word for it.
Also, there's like 5-ish other movies that are in the Barbie universe that are a direct recreation of this movie.
Bankruptcy and all?
Kinda, yeah.
Oh my god.
Just slightly different.
Oh no, we have spent all of our money and now we are poor.
There's one that's
Boo-hoo.
there's one where she's like a pop idol and the other one's like I think a rock star or something like that, and they switch lives because they're both having such shitty famous lives, or one's a model, I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched that one. But this premise happens a lot in the Barbie world. At least 4 times, maybe 5. I haven't seen the 5th one.
I'm surprised they haven't done Jane Austen at this point. Or don't they have they kind of, or like loosely Jane Austen?
Honestly, no. Okay, so that's kind of the weird part, is the beginning, like, start of the franchise of the Barbie cinematic universe was very heavily based off of classical literature or classic ballets, because of course it is. It's for little girls.
Also, it's public domain.
Yeah, that's why a lot of them are honestly dance themed, because most of those ballets are public domain at this point. But also partially because it's little girls, and little girls want to be ballerinas, and they want to be fairies and mermaids and live in a castle. Like, that's logical targeting your audience nonsense. Once we got out of, like, the Renaissance era of Barbie cinematic universe, they do shift away from classical stories and more into just general fairy tale, like, just fairy, just mermaid. By then, a lot of those worlds had been built up. A lot of them then move into, like, we have dogs, it's a dog-themed movie. We have horses, it's a horse-themed movie. And less classical literature. These, like, the classical literature truly is, like, the beginning of the world.
I want them to do a, like, old school Grimm's fairy tale. Like, there's one, at least in the book I have, the way it's ordered, it's, like, one of the first stories, and it's about this girl who's abandoned by her parents and taken by the Virgin Mary up to heaven.
Oh, that one, that doesn't happen.
And then she's given the keys to heaven. Because Virgin Mary has to go do some side quest bullshit.
Oh, good for her.
And tells her not to open one door, and of course she opens one door.
Of course.
And her finger turns to gold because it's the Holy Trinity that she sees. Closes the door and then tries to lie about it. Holy Mary sends her to Earth because she lies to her, and then mutes her, has her, like, suffer for years until a prince finds her, and then she starts living happily, having kids. Virgin Mary starts taking the kids away from her until she's like, oh, tell me the truth. She does, and she's like, okay, I'll let you have your kids back. Because she's going to be killed because they think she's a witch eating her children. Give me that Barbie story.
That Barbie story probably won't happen. But to appease you, there is a Barbie version of the 12 Dancing Princesses, which I believe is also a Grimm tale, which was then turned into a ballet.
Okay.
And it is the ballet version, and it does have very realistic Barbie ballet dancing.
Barbie 7 Brides for 7 Brothers.
That, unfortunately, does not happen because there's not enough Ken characters.
Make 7 Ken characters that are all redhead, just they're wearing different shirts. That would be a great way to do that one.
Here's the thing, there are enough Ken-esque characters, there's not enough red-headed Ken characters. We'd have to make a whole line of red-headed Ken characters. Because you will notice that in the Barbie cinematic universe, Ken doesn't really make much of an appearance. Like, actual Ken.
I have no clue about this. This is my only one. And there's not even Ken. There's not even Barbie. It's Princess Annalise. She's not Barbie.
That's true. Okay, especially the original ones. It was much more heavily focused on, like, the imagination and closer to original stories. Granted, a lot of fucking liberties taken. This is Barbie. But, like, there was a little bit more emphasis on, like, having some faith to the original story and it having, like, pretend play Barbie is something else. Yeah. Later Barbie, Ken does make an appearance along with all of her sisters. I think she has 4, and all of her nephews and aunts, and she has a lot of aunts. She has a lot of rich aunts doing a lot of rich aunt things. Barbie has a big, long social life, I guess. But, like, Ken isn't necessarily, like, part of the Barbie world in, like, any useful or, like, long-lasting way. Ken just kind of occasionally is in movies, but not very consistently. Because, much like the live-action Barbie picked up on, Ken isn't really important to Barbie.
I have no comparison.
Like, that's why you haven't seen it. Okay.
No, this is the only Barbie movie I have seen.
The whole premise of the live action is that Ken hates being Ken because Ken isn't important because he lives in Barbie land. Along with a lot of deeper messaging. I know we're simplifying because this is Barbie. And specifically simplifying because this is specifically Barbie Cinematic Universe Barbie. And we need to simplify because these movies, this is one of the longer movies, by the way. This one's 80-ish minutes long. Most of them are closer to that 60-minute mark. With, I think, the exception of the Christmas one, which was the first one, I think that one's closer to 90. But, look, we have to cut stuff out of a whole Mark Twain book to make this work.
It's very, very, very loosely.
It's very loosely interpreted by. Yes. But the idea is there.
Yeah. And I mean, we do get right into, like, the musical right away, too, of their lives and their schedules are so different. Like, they're parallel, identical brunettes and blondes. Like, you know, I get it because, like, you're on a budget. You don't want to do a secondary model.
Fact.
The only way you can tell them apart is their hair color.
Fact. And also, like, this was also 100% marketing for the toy. Mm-hmm. It is so much cheaper to have the same face mold and the same body mold and just put different hair on that doll. Like, like, face molds are incredibly, like, expensive to do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, why wouldn't you just have both of your dolls be the same doll with slightly different hair?
Well, because you can be either of them. It's so that way the girl can imprint upon whether she's the princess or, oh, her life's so troublesome that she's having to, like, work off her dead parents' debt. Not even sorry her parents. Actually, they don't even really talk about the parents.
They really don't.
I assume the parents are dead because they're just like, oh, your parents left you with it. Well, did your parents abandon you or did they sell you off to Madame Carp?
We don't know.
Dumbass name, too.
Oh, there's a lot of dumb names in the Barbie universe. Don't get me wrong. You know, parents aren't really, like, a problem in the Disney world.
Excuse me? The mom is 100% the crux of this entire movie's problem. She has been horrible financial management of the kingdom's gold.
Again,
even if that guy
swindled.
She was not swindled. He siphoned off a little bit. She's still wasting.
He siphoned off enough to be as rich as a king from a neighboring country.
Yeah, but
that's a lot of gold.
But he only siphoned it off from the mines, is what it's implied. She's been horrible with the rest of the gold that she's had.
I don't know if we have account book proof of this.
Investing your entire kingdom's economy into just gold is the dumbest thing that this movie has done.
Well, if you'd like to be even more angry, the end of this movie, which we're going to go ahead and spoil, is that they make money off of geodes, and I would like to let you know that geodes are worth dirt.
Not in this movie.
That doesn't make any sense. But also, it does, because as a child logic, I thought geodes were dope as hell and that gold was kind of boring.
They're magical, Christmas, Barbie.
No, geodes are cool, so why wouldn't they be worth more? Gold's kind of boring. Yeah. It's just shiny. Geode cool. Geode open.
God, you sound like a caveman.
That's the logic.
Yeah, but I also like that in this musical, the queen just interrupts and nicely saying, oh yeah, you gotta marry this Prince Dominic so we can get his money. Like, this is the most money-grubbing, like, gold digging, like, idea in the entire, like, yeah.
I agree with you. However, in this movie's defense, this parent of said Barbie is significantly nicer and loving to her than a lot of other Barbie parents who are, like, absent the entire time that she's in mortal danger.
Well, I just popped in my mind. She ain't messing with the gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke.
She is not messing with no broke because King Dominic, played by Ken. King Dominic in this movie is, according to the credits, played by Ken.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I do appreciate the double parallel here where we don't know what he looks like. There's a lot of espionage-esque sort of things happening in this movie.
No, it's not. It's very blatant.
But it's for children. It's blatant for a reason.
But that's the other thing, too, is like, what's she gonna do? Waste this kingdom's money now?
Yes.
I know, it's...
Yes.
Just pisses me off.
I made you watch all of them Christmas Prince movies, and you're going to tell me that economic situation makes the same amount of sense as this one.
It makes more sense than this
Their
one. Their
whole economy is based off of Christmas.
Yeah, so is Branson, Missouri.
No. That one's also based off of Jesus, wolves painted onto wood, howling at the moon, and knickknacks. A lot of knickknacks.
3 of those 4 things you mentioned are Christmas.
Yes.
Jesus was born on Christmas.
Yeah, but Jesus is a year-round holiday in Branson, Missouri, I'll have you know.
So it's Christmas.
And also mini golf. Mini golf game strong in Branson, Missouri. Right. Along with some really questionable theater productions.
Alrighty. But also, so there's one part in the song that I don't know if I like it, but I find it hilarious.
Yeah.
Is when she's singing the other assistant to Madame Carp is like, can I come along?
Yeah.
And she just completely ignored him. Like, it's some random one that said it's just like, all right, we're off.
Yeah, so canonically, a rapid thing that developed amongst the Barbie universe is that the Barbie universe's humor is a little bit blunt and a little bit mean.
Stupid.
It is stupid, but also, it's still kind of funny at times.
Yeah, because it's awkward as shit.
It's so awkward, and I think that's kind of why it works.
Yeah. Debatable, but I will say, the one thing I do think is the Clifftown is kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. Also, something that you haven't complained about yet, and I don't think you're going to really get to complain about, with the exception of maybe one song.
Oh, just you wait.
This is one of the few musicals where the music does actually explain parts of the plot. It is useful.
I will agree. The music, most of the musical moments at least explain or try and carry the plot a little bit.
Or develop a character in some way. Even the stupid song about how much we love our silly, stupid cat does explain that she's a good singer, and that's why he falls in love with her.
Not that she's a good singer, she's a good person.
She is a good person.
I have that specifically in my notes.
The songs for this movie were written by Amy Powers, Megan Calvari, and Rob Hudnut, with the scores for the lyrics written by Arnie Roth. You have heard Arnie Roth's music before. He has done a lot of other children's movies. And all of this was performed by the London Symphony Orchestra and the Chess Philharmonic Chamber Orchestra. So, like, that's part of the reason it sounds as good as it does. And part of the reason I picked this one is because it's not the only musical of Barbie. I would think it's the best sounding, though.
The Arnie Roth, who I have seen in concert 3 times for Final Fantasy.
Yeah, him.
Okay.
Yeah, him.
Well, now you have my attention, because
And it kind of makes sense, because up until this point, all of the other Barbie movies that had musical elements as a big theme were music that was already existing. So, this is one of the first ones, not only original music, not only the first musical, but they went full on and were like, if we're going to do a musical, we're going to do a damn musical.
You know, I am a little bit confused now because I have watched this man
perform a lot.
Not, well, 3 times, but...
Well, live, but...
Yeah, live, but also say happy birthday to Nobuo Uematsu, the Japanese Beethoven. Like,
yeah.
I did...
Yeah.
I am...
This guy.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's why the music is so damn good, and also why the music for this was released separately, and no one is surprised. It did really well. This is still a lot of Barbie music people's favorite soundtrack, and I see why, because I've heard a lot of them. This one's by far the most cohesive, minus the ones that were based fully off of existing ballets and orchestra pieces.
Well, I'll take your word for it for now.
Okay.
Again, only Barbie movie I've seen.
That's true, and don't get me wrong, I do like the new Barbie movie's music, but again, not part of the Mattel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Separate franchise.
Alright. I also do like that we introduce the bad guy right away. Like, this movie is fast-paced for what it is.
Yes, it is.
And I like that the smart and dumb henchmen stealing the gold but ignorant of hidden gems. I do wonder if they're getting paid, though.
They are 100% getting paid.
I don't think so, because, like, they're living in they're, like, living in a shack in the woods.
That is true, however, I do think they are stupid enough to be getting paid and then also have that money stolen from them. In the same way where, like, you work at a place and they're like, hey, we have a cafeteria. You can have that cafeteria funds taken out of your paycheck if you want.
Oh, so it's like an old school company town of like, yeah, you'll work, but you can get company dollars to spend at our
the company
store.
Yes, I 100% think that is what's happening to these 2 idiots, because while they are hilarious, they are very stupid.
Yes. Well, one of them is slightly smarter than the other, but not, like, super, super smart.
No, and they have to be stupid because the bad guy, of course, starred by Martin Short, is very silly. He is also stupid. He's just smart enough to take all the gold.
But that's the thing, is he's not stupid, then. He's bankrupted an entire country. Yeah, country, or whatever you want to call it.
A small country.
Small country.
A small country.
A small Liechtenstein.
Yeah.
But... I don't know. It's just, I don't think he's that. He's at least a competent enough villain. But like, he also his motives. Like, here's where it gets a little weird. And I don't know if this is the plot of the other ones. In this one, the women are the good guys. It's only men who are bad guys.
I mean, we have 2 good men. They get married.
Yeah, technically.
It's just the one who walks funny is the bad guy. And then his dumb Hitchman.
Yeah, well, that's 3 guys.
Yeah.
And the dog. Can't forget the dog.
Yeah, the poodle dog is silly.
I hate the dog.
The poodle, I'm not gonna lie, I regularly forget the poodle dog is part of this, partially because the poodle dog did not come as one of the 3 toys. So...
I'm surprised. Did
Both cats came as toys. Both girls came as toys. At least one of the princes came as a toy.
Did Preminger come as a toy? Did the queen come as a toy?
I don't think they did.
No, I doubt it, because that's why the dog didn't come as a toy, is because why are you going to have the villain? No one wants to have the villain as far as from my understanding of girls' toys, girls don't want the villains. They want the thing that they can attach of, like, oh, this is me, whereas the boys like, fuck yeah, I want to be Megatron.
See, okay, that's the thing that I think Mattel knows, and I think Mattel, much like every other parent in the world, is trying very hard to keep their girls from becoming evil geniuses. Most of us were not nice to our Barbies. And having a canonic villain would have definitely been bought and been played with very hard. And they would have done a lot of terrible, terrible things other than just destroy the economy of a small European town. But
I love that you have downgraded them from bankrupting a country to bankrupting a town.
honestly, look at this place. Look at it. You tell me there's more than this one city here?
Well, I mean, where else are they getting their food? There's got to be something that they're sustaining off of.
This place doesn't even have a name canonically.
You're right. It's an unknown country, but there's no farmlands as far as we can. They live on a cliff.
They do, because this is an adaptation of a silly Mark Twain story that was a lot more in depth. But no, it's not that girls don't want the evil villain toy. It's that Mattel and the parents don't want the girls to have the villain toy. Because we would be too powerful. And we would scare our family.
Nah, y'all had the Hex Girls. What are you talking about?
We did have the Hex Girls, and the number of Barbies with missing legs and heads is proof enough that we didn't need the villain toy. We were the villains!
Children are just destructive. Our G.I. Joes didn't last more than a month before we started destroying them.
It wasn't that we were destructive, it was that we had to have the story of sadness and poverty really play out in full, which might be part of the reason why people really attached themselves to this movie.
Our G.I. Joes just went on missions and fell off stairs and broke their arms.
Yeah, Sid the kid next door at Toy Story would have made more sense if Sid was a girl.
No.
It would have.
He's a teenage angsty boy.
He was a teenage angsty boy, and they played it well, especially throughout the whole series. However, the amount of toys in the girl universe that died horrible freezing deaths because they couldn't pay the tax collector and then were left outside in buckets of ice was numerous.
We're just going Brothers Grimm. We're going fucking Vietnam with ours.
Yeah, we didn't... I think mostly because we didn't watch the Vietnam stuff as children. That we didn't get around to that till high school. Yeah.
I don't blame you.
But yeah, no, the dog is... I'm not gonna lie. The dog is one of the few ones that I don't get why the bad guy has to have a dog. Because
he has to have a counterpart for him, so that way the animals have kind of a villain, because
True.
Of course the animals talk. We get introduced to, I forget the stupid cat's name, with the kitty humor.
Yes, that's true. And honestly, from the very first Barbie movie, all of the sidekick animals have talked. Whether or not they talk to Barbie and the humans, or just to each other, is always up in the air.
That is the one thing. I don't like talking animals in movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's a reason for it. What was it? Brian has watched Absolutely Anything. And
oh, sure.
There was a talking dog in that because he made the dog talk.
Yeah.
But in this one, the animals don't talk to the people.
No.
They talk to each other. There's
Correct.
never that cross-species communication.
This is a fantasy movie, but it is one of the lesser fantasyful Barbie movies. Because this one, the animals are just talking to each other.
Yeah.
And technically 2 of them are cats, and theoretically could talk to each other in cat language.
Well, that also explains that there's...
a universal animal language of some kind.
Yeah, like in Dungeon Crawler Carl, there's a syndicate standard.
Yes, exactly.
This
exactly.
is the second or third episode I've shoved Dungeon Crawler. Dungeon Crawler Carl is my new Takashi Miike,
It's okay. It is all consuming, and I understand.
But I do like that they're not subtle in this movie. I get it. It's a kid's movie. Barbie's in love with her teacher, which... age-wise are probably the same, but it gets a little creepy there.
It's a little weird. I do like how they justify the not really justify, but build the relationship later, where it does feel a little bit more natural.
Well, that's the thing, is they do build it a little bit too.
They do. I mean, pretty well for 80 minutes worth of movie of a honestly fairly action-packed film.
Enough.
There's a lot of kidnapping happening here.
Yeah. But I mean, when I say they're not like, they don't hide anything, we know who Dominic is from the get-go.
Oh, no, it is meant to be very loosely hidden because, again, the age range for Mattel, they like to be able to market to anyone. And so they're going to go ahead and, like, cover all their bases, right? And remember, this is only the 4th Barbie Cinematic Universe movie. The ones before this were based off of well-known previous, like, children's classics, like Rapunzel, the Nutcracker Story. So, like, they were definitely, like, making sure their audience of any aged child would be able to catch on to the quote-quote wink-wink hints.
Yeah.
And, like, granted, yeah, it's a little stupid for adults, it's a little obvious, but I can see where they're going here.
We can't be all traumatic Don Bluth on these children.
We really can't, because I have several friends who admitted that most of the Don Bluth films were too much for them, and thus they were Barbie kids.
I love...
And don't get me wrong, I was a Don Bluth kid. I loved specifically Thumbelina. That was like my hot jam, was Thumbelina. That movie makes no damn sense.
Land Before Time.
I also loved Land Before Time. Had to fast forward though. Gotta get past Mom's death.
Fucking coward.
I was a huge coward, but I loved dinosaurs. But like, I get where, especially if you were a sensitive kid, the Barbie universe was a safe spot. Your parents could buy these, and you knew that you were probably going to be okay without a whole lot of worry.
Yeah, you didn't have to worry about your mom accidentally falling asleep during Alien, or letting them watch The Fast and the Furious that's, oh no, full of sex, which is just like one scene.
With one scene, but
kissing.
Still. But also, like, I also grew up with a lot of friends who had very strict parents on what they could watch.
Mm-hmm.
And Barbie was a safe one. They, like, especially after the first 5 came out and they were on DVD, they were pretty much always a fair game. Even when Disney wasn't.
Good branding, because then it's like,
Very
okay, you've watched these 5 movies, you can now assume that everything's going to be safe from then on. And then what you do is you hit them hard with some really dark Grimm's fairy tale bullshit that's going to traumatize them. And they won't tell their parents because it's like, but it's Barbie and I don't want to not watch my other Barbie movies.
And granted, I have not seen all 52. I've only seen probably-ish around 30 of them because, again, I fell off the Barbie bandwagon when I grew out of them. But I don't think Barbie has ever let their audience down that way, which is, again, smart marketing because, again, while those families still exist, the ones that, like, are very specific on, like, what their kids can watch, 9 times out of 10, Barbie is okay because, again, Barbie is never explicitly, like, a witch, which was a big no-no for a lot of the families that I grew up with.
Yeah. There's no witches in this movie, and even then, like, the magic is, like, it's not even really magic.
No, and, like, talking animals for the most part was fine.
Yeah, no, this movie doesn't have magic.
Playing pretend, and, like, granted, there are other Barbie movies where the magic happens, and maybe for some families that would have been cut out. But for the most part, it's play pretend fairies or mermaids or unicorns. And for the most part, that stuff was okay for, again, I understand not everybody's family was in the same crazy boat. But for most of my friends, that stuff was okay, which meant that we could, like, bring our collection of Barbie movies to each other's homes and, like, figure out what we were going to watch without having to worry about someone's mom losing it.
Okay. Interesting.
I know, and granted, this one, I get, you know, adventure-wise, a little dry, but for something that we were guaranteed to possibly get to watch, we were ecstatic.
I'll get into it and give a warning for parents for watching this movie. There's some stuff I'll get into in the background.
There is some background stuff that is odd, but not bad.
It depends on the parent.
That's very true, because I did have one friend who we weren't allowed to do any of the, like, fairy ones, because that was too close to magic.
I mean,
she's
fairies.
I hope she's doing well.
Good for her.
I think about her parents regularly. I hope she knows that.
Yeah, but when they do decide to go into the city, I have so many questions on their let's go quote-unquote incognito.
Again, it is so loosely based on the Mark Twain thing that the parts don't make sense because it has to follow some parts.
I get that, but here's the thing: is like we only ever see her like slightly change clothes. She is still in a giant, like fancy dress.
What color is the dress, though? It's pink. It's pink. You want to know why?
I thought you were going to ask if I was looking at the
No.
CGI titties or not.
No, there are no CGI titties.
I know they're not. But it's that same prompt of like, what color was her dress?
It does feel that way. No, okay. The reason she looks the way she does is 100% the toy line. Okay. These toys came out and they were hyper. Yeah. Like one was blue dress, one was pink dress, and even you'll notice her like the character Erica's blue dress is like her quote unquote poor dress. It is in line and shaped the same as Barbie's, like, fancy hot pink dress.
Yeah, you just use one model for both of them.
But it's also a way to brand your characters.
But here's the thing, it's not 100% the dress. They're supposed to be going incognito, but they show up in their carriage that's just decked out in gold. It's like, oh, we're just here in town. I want to think that the town just kind of ignores.
No, I 100% think that because this is very parallel to, like, the Aladdin where Jasmine sneaks out and everyone's like, not looking, and, like, blatantly not looking because it's Jasmine and she hasn't changed clothes whatsoever. At least Barbie technically put on her least fancy dress.
And she put up a hood.
But I also 100% think the town is just like, oh, let the poor girl do whatever she wants. Look at her. Look at her mom.
Her mom bankrupted us. This girl's delusional. Let her have some fun.
And also, you know that town has already heard that this poor child has to get married immediately to save their town.
Yes.
Because every servant in that castle has gone out into the streets and been like, oh my god, you're not going to believe what happened at work today.
Yes. But this is also the scene where I started noticing discrepancies and issues in the background.
We don't look at the background at Barbie.
There are dead pigs hanging in the background, which I was not expecting. And on top of that, not just that, you look at it, and the carrots are stacked vertically.
Yes, they are.
Narrow point down.
Don't worry about it.
And then in the scene before, there's just like kind of children wandering very weirdly in the background, like to fill space.
Yeah, look, okay. I looked into what the budgeting for Mattel's universe was, and I couldn't get like a hard, consistent number. There's a couple of ranges, and this one isn't exactly like a low ball. Like, I've seen lower ball budgets, for sure.
Oh, 100%.
But for Mattel, I'm surprised at the money they put into this, and I know where all that money went, and it went directly at Barbie.
Even then, it's not that much, because all the other characters aren't, like, worse drawn or worse animated.
But at the same time, like, you can tell that the background was, like, the last part of the budget. And honestly, yes, especially as an adult, and if you, like, are used to, like, looking at a film and not just watching it, yeah, the background's a little silly. But if you are just watching this as a normal person, you won't notice, but it is a fun game to play.
Yeah. Because
also, the town's maybe the only populated background in the whole movie. Everything else is like an empty room in a castle.
Rendering time, save budget.
Honestly, yeah, and I think that's kind of why, like, these movies look the way they do and kind of give off that nostalgia feel. Because, like, everyone's shaded kind of the same. There's the same amount of depth everywhere we go, stage-like, and the few scenes where we have something kind of sort of interesting with a camera, it's clearly like, okay, we planned this one shot where it's taken from the ceiling. Everything else, eye level.
Yeah, keeps it generic.
Yeah, but honestly, it does kind of keep my interest well. I mean, it's not revolutionary by any standard. It's not Don Bluth's imagination or creativity with light and color, but it also doesn't hurt my eyes.
Yeah, I will say it's much better than, like, Bigfoot versus Krampus, or I watched a movie last year called El Don Quixote or something that's really, really bad.
Yeah, and granted, I know I've brought them up already once, but, like, I have watched a shit ton of Disney's direct-to-VHS, like, sequels, especially the ones that came out late 90s, early 2000s, around the same time as this, and those ones did physically make me sick.
Okay.
Like, the animation was so low, I might as well have just been read to level of bad. This one at least is watchable and honestly kind of sort of pleasant. In like a weird CGI sort of way.
I'll admit that.
Yeah, like, it's not good. Don't get me wrong.
It's not the worst.
It would look better as a 2D, like, colored with lighting and shading sort of thing.
It's no food fight.
It is no food fight, though, thank God.
But this movie also, like, goes all over the place, because one moment Barbie is saddened by people leaving. She's like, oh no, our kingdom's leaving, because her mom's horrible with money again.
Yeah, that's true.
But then immediately is like, oh, music, what's over here?
Yeah, okay. That is also kind of sort of a normal trend in Barbie movies, is the ADHD of Barbie is hard.
It leans so heavily into, like, the dumb blonde stereotype, just a little too hard.
No, and okay, they lean into it more in other movies and less in some, But it is kind of just a general thing that Barbie is known for, is like the side quests that Barbie goes on is kind of a lot sometimes.
Well, the side quest leads into the main plot, because like
that's true.
Like, she gets there, and then Madame Carp is just an absolute bitch of like, how dare you make money outside of this place?
Yeah, Madame Carp is arguably maybe the actual bad guy, but like, we don't really get time to hate her.
No.
Because this movie's not really about the other character,
no,
the other Barbie.
And we've got to move along real quick, too, because it's like, oh, by the way, I love your dresses. We get them in the palace. Are you the princess? Oh, you couldn't tell by my incognito dress and my golden adored carriage?
Okay, so again, canonically based off of the credits, Erica, the brown-haired Barbie, is also played by Barbie. So there is a reason why, granted, the face model is 100% the same, it's definitely for the toy, but also canonically, like, the reason they are both so ditzy is because they are theoretically, in this fake world that we're living in, played by the same actress.
Oh, so it's like Legend with...
No, it's like...
No, it's like Legend with Tom Hardy, not the Tom Cruise one you're thinking of, the one about the Irish gangster twins. It's both of them.
No, it's more
give one of them glasses.
No, it's more like Parent Trap, where it's played by the same girl.
No, that's Legend. It's,
it is.
It's played by Tom Hardy.
It is Tom Hardy, and then also Tom Hardy. Yes.
Yeah, give them at least a different, like, not just different hair color, different hairstyle, something slightly different.
I do like that. Essentially, Legend just gave him glasses. That's
glasses and slick back hair and made him gay. Like, I guess the Barbie movie.
I mean, the Barbie movie kind of was not that far off. Let's be real here. One's in a blue dress, and one's a little bit more into singing. The other's a little bit more into rocks.
Yeah,
like close enough.
I now want to see a Barbie movie where Cam Patterson is the one who likes rocks.
That would be very funny. Barbie has many interests. I don't know about that one though.
She likes rocks.
She does.
No, that is the big point in her.
Barbie likes a lot of things.
Yeah, Annalise likes rocks in this movie. That is like the big point of like why her
she's a
kingdom
geologist.
Saved. Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, as a child who also liked rocks, I kind of related. So like,
but this is the part where like the music. This song specifically, I think this is
the song.
I hate the song though.
I know you do, but this is the one that the movie was advertised with.
Okay.
So a lot of us remember this song as like the poster child song.
Well, it's such a stupid way for them to try and like bond. Like I get it's this moment that's trying to give them heart.
Yes.
But like them bonding and bursting into song. This is where I hate musicals so much, is because it's just like such a stupid way to like, oh, I have this in my life. It's so hard having a hot meal every day. Yeah, well, for my life, I have to pay extra if I want a hot meal, and if I want water, I've got to go get it myself.
I totally agree. However, I do think that the song and the songwriting does a good job of trying to condense the Mark Twain storyline of the two very different boys, and Mark Twain spends a lot of time making it so that both boys' lives feel like shit, and that they're also good, though. Like, having the other one's life doesn't feel like a bad choice. And granted, the other Barbie movies that are literally almost exactly the same, but not of this plotline, I think do it maybe at times a little better, where, like, both girls' lives are, like, the same amount of bad, but in different ways. This one, the song covers a lot of ground to get the audience to, even if you're, like, not fully on board, to at least kind of sort of get where everyone's going. Mm-hmm. Because when they are just talking about their lives, you're not convinced that we should be switching roles.
No,
once the song starts and we kind of sort of like get this buddy sense, you're like, okay, I guess I can see where we're trying to go here. It's not 100%. I still think one of them has a worse life than the other, but that is the whole point of the original story. So like
the only common ground that they actually have is their parents are basically selling them off. Yeah. Erica got sold off to a sweatshop. Annalise is getting sold off to a queen because the mom sucks. Both parents suck at money management.
Yeah, both parents suck at money management. That is the canonic thing here. And granted, like, if this movie had been longer, could we have fixed a lot of this? Probably. But at the same time, I do think the song, A, catchy, and B, does cover a lot of ground to condense what is a full-length, like, high school level novel into something that, like, a kid can kind of sort of grasp really quick.
Yeah, you could be angsty about, oh no, my parents won't let me have breakfast in bed.
And also, like, it gives enough room for most little girls are like, want to be a princess? Hell fucking yeah, I do. And also have the same Barbie agency of, like, freedom being a core root of the Barbie character still represented here.
Yeah, I've still never understood that, just because, like, you look at history and, like, so many of them are inbred, and it's like, so you want to be just
children.
I know.
It is a fantasy princess. It is not a real princess.
I know, I was a weird kid, so.
Yeah, no, these are the same little girls who also want to be mermaids. Like, don't think about the princess thing too hard. They aren't.
No, the movie's not thinking about anything too hard.
Literally, honestly, a lot of these little girls probably didn't even think about the breakfast in bed thing until this movie was brought up. Most of them probably just wanted dresses and to be able to tell people to do stuff.
Yeah.
That was probably 99% of the princess appeal to them.
Just be dictators.
Yes! Yes, little girls would love to be dictators.
Terrifying. But also, like, the laughs in this movie are so awkward. And then,
they are. Especially Barbie's laugh.
Oh, man. And then we get to the talking cats with the one cat that barks. And of course...
I love Barking Cat because he's so stupid.
I hate it all.
I know you hate him. He is by far one of the least annoying sidekicks of the Barbie cinematic universe. I will not be elaborating more because you will just have to watch the more annoying ones to find out who they are.
I don't know if I hate myself enough to watch more of these.
Yeah, that's fair. To really bolster yourself, to really buckle in on that, know that the Barking Cat is one of the more endearing side characters. And yes, I am including fans of Bibble. You cannot argue with me that Bibble is not just a hair annoying.
Yeah.
He's in like 4 movies.
Great. Of course the pets have to have a romance too. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, okay. Granted, one of the big selling points of this movie is the double wedding at the end. To the point where the wedding
Triple wedding, basically.
Yeah, okay. Well, the pets don't make any vows. They just have children outside of wedlock.
I mean, they're animals.
They're wedded. Yeah. But
they don't know any better.
But, like, it was a big enough craze that Mattel released a double wedding venue playset as part that came out with this. So there was the castle, there was the carriage, there was, I think, a horse, and then also the wedding venue. And this blew a lot of people's minds, because as children, we weren't aware that you could have 2 weddings at the same time. This was so fanciful. And at no point, like, I think it took a lot of little girls, like, a long time for us to realize, like, no, this is just a thing you could do if you have enough money. And your best friend also wants to get married at the same time. Like, this is a thing, this is an achievable dream.
Actually, you might save money, same venue. You can say, I only have so many people I can invite. You might be saving money by doing double weddings.
You might be I don't know. I paid a courthouse money. But, like...
I know you did. Many of our friends have done the very simple, let's go to Vegas and get married.
You know what? Good for them. Their pictures look fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. You might be saving money. But yeah, no, like, a lot of little girls like this, especially romantic little girls who like the idea of, like, love is the same as being a princess in their head, or a mermaid or a fairy. For a lot of them, this was like double mermaids, double rainbows. So the cats having a romance also makes sense, because this is for romantic little girls.
Yeah.
Thus the double princesses.
Boy meets girl, ooh, they must have kittens together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who this was for sure.
Yeah. And I like how, like, they meet up and then immediately we just go to her asleep at the
They're barely at the same place.
Yeah, and then the cat gets kidnapped, which it's like
catnapped.
There's no guards around this whatsoever.
No, this is the stupidest thing. Again, part of it based off of the whole Mark Twain thing means that there's a lot of logic plot holes that honestly Barbie has never cared about.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, especially old school Barbie, like, we just use the original source as an excuse to not bother with plot holes.
Yeah.
Regularly. That was like a common thing. Granted, now we just don't bother at all because it's Barbie. But, like, just being like, oh, well, the book says, is like, the book doesn't say anything about any of these other people.
No.
Well, most of these people aren't in the book.
Well, because we get introduced to a bunch of, like, random characters throughout this movie that don't really, like, I mean, granted, at least Javier the horse does have some role later on.
He is,
like,
he does recur.
Very minimal, but he is so creepy.
He's barely in it.
But he's creepy, and, like,
he is creepy.
I don't know what's creepier, that or the horse from Berserk, and you know which horse I do know which
horse you're talking about. And I think part of it is because there was clearly meant to be a little bit of an arc with him and his confidence, where he's, like, very down and, like, clearly, like, very sad for the first part of the movie.
And then when Eeyore.
Yeah, but then when he, like, finally rejects his terrible master and, like, saves the day, he's very confident and speaks much bolder. But, like, this is an 80-minute children's movie, but we're focused on 2 princesses and a cat that barks. I don't have time for this horse, too.
No, exactly.
And neither did the editors. They clearly, like, either cut something or, like, originally were like, no, we don't have time for the horse, but leave what you have done.
Well, that's how they probably went with the evil dude's horse, because that horse doesn't have a tail.
No, okay, but in Tailless Horse's defense, there are a few horses that, like, just don't grow hair, so maybe he has the genetic condition where he doesn't grow his tail hair right. Maybe he's a little weirdo, like the dog-cat thing.
Yeah, also, why is Harvey the only French character in this entire movie?
No idea, because they don't explain where this is at all. It's so vague, it might as well not be on planet Earth.
Okay. Well, the one thing I will give credit for this movie for is the female characters and their braveness. The cat is brave despite being dainty, and she does remind me a little bit of Princess Donut.
Yes, she does, but, less psychopathic.
Princess Donut is crazy.
Princess Donut eventually has a lot of very strange powers.
Yes. But, yeah, it's just... I don't know. I will give...
And, like, granted, that doesn't just happen for the cat. I would argue that both Barbie characters also, still dainty, still princessy, but they do stand up for themselves. They are smart.
I will get to that. I did notice that later on in the movie, because right now they are still very ditzy with, like...
Yeah, they are.
They're...
And I would argue that even the Kin characters, which I believe canonically are both played by Kin too, but, like, I would argue that all of the characters at the beginning of the movie are, like, the same level of stupid, and we all grow the same, which, a little boring, but again, 80-minute kids movie, I'm impressed we have any growth at all.
Yeah, well, at least Preminger's a little bit smarter. Like, he's one up them, they didn't expect it coming. I mean...
He's a fun bad guy, and part of the fun is that he is Martin Short level over the top, and I do wonder if, like, they let him record some of his lines and then animated him after. Because there's some lines that, like, the hand motions are just a lot.
Yeah.
The way he walks, the facial expressions are just over the top, but it's part of the fun.
Just a bit. But I do like that while he's trying to build up his side, the men aren't completely stupid and useless.
True.
The teacher catches on because there's a different floral scent, which shows his familiarity with Princess.
He does truly love her.
Mm-hmm. And also he's important because he's the only one who knows that Erica looks like the princess. And
That's true. He was there on their escapade.
And she's all down for it because she thinks it's going to be they're best buds because of a single duet.
Look, okay, but, like, that's just a thing that happens in movies. Mm-hmm. Especially 80-minute long movies. We don't have time to build a friendship. Yeah, they are identical twins, that means they're friends now.
But they leave little hints here and there, too, of, like, there's no king in the portraits either, so it's
That is true, but there is a crown in a glass box.
Yeah.
Which, one might argue grieving widow. We don't want to see our deceased husband anymore. Or, we murdered him, and we don't want to see our deceased husband anymore. Bum, bum, bum. We'll never know, because that's not the point of this movie.
Honestly, Preminger seems like he would know this stuff and should be going for the queen to kill her off so he can have the kingdom himself.
True. Yeah, there's, I mean, granted, a lot of this is written, like, outcome first, story second.
Yeah.
So, like, we have to have the bad guy come after our main person, and then we can work on, like, the rest of the plot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's full of very convenient stuff, like the Princess Etiquette book, which leads into another song.
Granted, the Princess Etiquette book, I don't know about actual princesses, but there is real etiquette books. I have many of them.
Yeah, well, I know you have etiquette books, you took the classes and whatnot.
I taught the classes, how dare you.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I also took the classes, but yeah, like, no, it is a nice way of quickly wrapping up why she can kind of sort of pass. Mm-hmm. And I also like that she is stiff and awkward because she acts like what she thinks a princess is meant to act like.
Yeah, well,
it's a nice touch.
And I will say, at least this song does develop her a little bit more. It's not just a song for song's sake. But there's also a bunch of dumb stuff, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of, like, no one notices the cats have changed for, like, another 20 minutes.
Oh, a long time. Which does kind of lead the idea that maybe the princess is, like, really into pets, and this is, like, she's down to the one cat at the moment, and everyone's like, wow, she's only got the one cat, thank God. Normally she's got, like, 18 cats.
Well, you say that, but then they bring it up later of, like, oh, this is a new one.
Yeah, which does lead to the idea that she, like, regularly has, like, other cats.
They just say, where's the other cat?
Yeah, I could not. Well, and then, like, later on, they're like, and then the two cats had a billion children, and no one batted an eye. Mm-hmm. I think maybe Rock Barbie is really into cats too, and normally has a shit ton of cats.
Maybe.
And this is just like the one good cat that has like made it this far.
What is she doing to the other cats? Is she's
really
like, a good princess?
I don't know. Maybe she's like, I don't know, really worked on the homeless stray population of cats in this kingdom or something.
Worked on them, you say? Culling them?
I don't know. Look,
the
they
dark
don't
side of Princess and as the Barbie and the...
They only talk about these two cats, and one of them is barely a cat. I don't know.
He's enough cat to make other cats.
That's, I mean, genetically speaking, true. But it does also prove that his barking is genetic. So maybe we shouldn't be making more cats. We don't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do like Annalise is trying to think of a way out, and like the ghost is dumb, but it works at least for the bad guy or the dumb henchman. And
yeah, like they're both trying, and they both are trying to be clever.
And Preminger sees through. Like that's the thing is like Preminger is at least somewhat smart. He's not the dumbest out there.
No, granted, I also appreciate that like his focus is truly on just becoming king and not necessarily like the princess in general or specifically. Because part of the like reason this movie as a princess movie, especially for kids, stands out is the fact that he is just after the kingdom and not specifically her, which is usually how these work, especially like think Swan Lake.
I've never seen an
I
adaptation
love
of
Swan Lake. You would hate it so much.
Are you talking about the Barbie one?
No. Well, there's also a Barbie one.
Okay, I was going to say, do I have to reestablish this is the only Barbie movie I've seen?
No. There is a 2D animation one that I love very much, but it's also a musical. I would argue not as good music. And there's a lot more animal sidekicks that you would hate more because one of them is a French frog, a slow turtle, and a puffin penguin who gets lost. But it is a poster child for how normally the bad guy is obsessed with the princess.
Yeah.
And the kingdom being the bonus to having and possessing the princess. This one, he is just crazy about being the king and like owning the kingdom. He wants to be rich.
Put in our James Bond game of guess the age gap.
Ooh, that'd be dangerous. Ooh, it's implied it's a really big age gap too.
It's implied that Preminger's like the same age as the queen.
Or maybe older. Yeah.
No, he's younger than the queen.
Oh, sure, but still,
at least 20-year gap.
Oh, it's a lot. Yeah, we're not gonna think about that one. But like, it is nice to see that like this is a small detail that like someone writing for this did think about, that like we should have him be focused on like power and money being his driving force and not specifically like owning Barbie.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good detail.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is like it leaves enough clues to make it smart. I mean, there's a decent enough twist to save the kingdom of, well, Erica's falling in love with the prince or Dominic.
Yeah, which is cute. The other thing that I like is that the characters, they manage to keep track of the characters who know what, so that way we don't end up with a character who somehow automatically knows and is just down with the deception that is happening.
Well, the whole thing could have been up because Dominic just walks into the changing room.
That's true, but
and she took her wig off for the bath, so anyone walking in, the servants walking in, why is your hair brown?
Don't worry about it. The princess, it gets to be this way. No, it is a very good point that like the gig could have been up very easily, but I'm impressed that the characters who like know the plot and know the deceptions that are happening, because there's 2 technically deceptions happening, and those
3.
Oh, true, 3.
Dominic, you got Preminger, and then you've got the Barbies.
Yeah, and they managed to keep all of those subplots in a very short amount of time straight, and the characters are fairly believable with the deceptions. It's not like, oh, you instantly believe this girl who looks like your daughter because you're the good-hearted queen. You're upset because your daughter's dead.
Yeah, well, and even then you say those little bit of details is like the only thing that distinguishes them initially is she doesn't have a birthmark on her shoulder. That's conveniently crown-shaped.
Okay, that is like, yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah,
that's like the thing, but yeah.
I mean, that's how you know when someone's going to be a royalty. They just wake up. It's like
that would be hilarious.
It's like the Joestars in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that all have a star on them.
That would be so funny, and also just an impeccable sense of Japanese street fashion. But yeah.
But I do like that it is quick. The plan backfires, and now it's Preminger's like, okay, I'm thinking on my feet. I want the queen now because the princess is gone.
Yeah. No, everyone thinks quick on their feet because the bad guy thinks and pivots really well. still maintaining all of the knowledge that everyone has and doesn't have to manipulate people. And also, both of our Barbies are locked up, but not totally useless. They are both actively trying.
Exactly. But I will say the emotion for this is stiff, and also...
Oh, for sure.
The Queen is the most incompetent bitch I have ever seen in a movie, because she, not only does she bankrupt her country, and yes, you can say Preminger siphoned off enough to be wealthy enough for a country.
Yeah.
At the same time, she doesn't question where Preminger, her servant basically, or confidant, has more money than the entire country. It's like, you put two and two together, your mind's dried out, you're bankrupt.
Yeah.
This guy who's been by your side for 50 plus years, now suddenly is wealthier than you?
Okay. I agree. My headcanon for this movie has always been that the previous king was the one who was, like, actually good with finances. And then in his death, the queen just kind of was, like, sad and just letting stuff happen. And this villain came in, and she's just been, like, wallowing in her grief. And she's not good with money. She doesn't really know how to do her taxes.
So you're saying women shouldn't have
No, I'm saying that
to
she's
checking?
me. No, I'm saying she's me. If Brian ever dies, I'm doomed.
She doesn't have access to. She
I
should
don't
have
know
access to the bank.
I would be screwed. She is me, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But we have no knowledge of this. This is just like a convenient thing that I have projected onto this character.
Yeah. My arguments are just very astute observation of this the reason we have issues is because the queen is incompetent.
Oh, 100%. And also, like, she's very gullible as well.
Which means Annalise got her smarts from her dad.
Oh,
because
for sure.
Honestly, they are decent escapes. I mean, there's luck, but there's also their smarts, and they're not relying on the men to save them. They just happen to, like, show up at the same time. And it's just like, okay, we'll take your aid when you actually are there.
And even to the point of, like, they escape, and you're like, no, don't escape. They were about to come and save you. Like, it is nicely timed pace for action for a very short movie and a very short amount of action.
It's a way of saying, I don't need no man without saying, I don't need no man, because they're in love with them.
That's true. And also, like, again, like I said, this was a fairly common trope for most of the Barbie movies up until fairly recently. And even then, it's less that, like, they're useless and more that, like, Barbie got a little ditzy in some of the newer movies, where Barbie, like, she might be dainty, she might be a princess, but she is at least somewhat competent and usually prepared. She's
not fully Fiona from Shrek.
No, absolutely not. It has honestly been a rather recent event, and honestly it's been something that a lot of Barbie fans have taken issue with, this incompetence or unpreparedness of Barbie. Because, again, Barbie has been everything in the cinematic universe, and even in her doll line, which this universe is meant to represent. And so, like, why would President Barbie not be prepared for a kidnapping?
Yeah, fair. But this is also where I am the dumb asshole. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that the henchmen's names were Knick-Knack.
They are Knick-Knack, and I do find that hilarious.
Yeah, it's stupid, but...
It is stupid, but also, like, the way that they always manage to say Nick and Knack is just paced enough that, like, I think most children would either be like, haha, I caught onto your trick, or, like, totally miss it, and it's a little joke for whoever else is having to watch this.
Like Harry Potter... Diagon Alley is diagonally.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely missed that several times, those times I read it.
Yeah. But this is where the movie, like, really just, like, shoves everything to the end. I mean, it cuts the wedding close. Javier is finally useful. Happily ever after.
Yeah, the end is really rushed. But honestly, like, the end isn't really the part that most kids are interested in. So I kind of get why we spent no time in the happily ever after part. Because, like, the wedding's kind of an afterthought, but, like, so?
Well, the wedding like doesn't even really happen initially because it's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go off and I'm gonna tour the country, but you know what? I truly miss. I do like that she tries it at least.
No, I like it, especially because at the end, like that was her whole goal, right? Was freedom. So they stuck true to that. Like, she's got two characteristics. She wants to be free. She wants to sing. She got to do both of those things. She then had fallen in love. So like we get to have like a full circle thing. And again, Barbie movies were originally meant to be a empowerment of girls and girl choices, women in STEM, woohoo sort of thing.
Yeah, we found geodes. We're geode rich. Actually, they are knick-knack rich now.
They are kind of knick-knack rich now. But also, like, maybe this is a tourism thing where, like, they get tourists to come and, like, dig up their geodes like some of the towns in Missouri do. So, like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I can
Like,
see it.
I guess you could make a town rich with geodes, just, you're not selling them on the market like you would
No.
gold. You'd have to have a tourism thing.
No, and then you get the actual final wedding, and also, like, the kittens are there. It's like the kittens are the worst.
They're
like, as
really bad.
As horrible as Javier is,
yeah.
the kittens.
The kittens are bad.
What the fuck are these things?
The kittens are really bad.
It's like, okay, well, we have to have a happy ending for the cats now. The logical choice is for them to have a litter of kittens, because that's what cat happiness is based off. Not catnip or just being together. It's like, well we
gotta
can't have
pump
drugs.
out
Out the babies.
We can't have drugs in this movie, so no catnip.
True.
But no, like, kittens are cute. The cats are cute. I feel like it is a logical choice for a Barbie movie. I'm not a fan of how many weird kittens and like how badly drawn they are. They're pretty ugly. These are pretty ugly kittens.
Yeah, but not. Yeah, they're ugly, but also the bloopers. The
bloopers are. This was the first Barbie movie to have bloopers. It's not the only movie. This kind of became a bit of a trend because while I know you hate it, children thought this was hilarious. And this movie was not the first one to have animated bloopers, not by a long shot. However, it did help prove a point that these, like, children think these are funny, and some adults also think these are funny.
Yeah.
And, like, helped really establish the idea that animated bloopers in an early 2000s film is,
they pulled it from, like, the Shrek bloop. Well, Shrek didn't have blooper, it had, like, the fake reel. Or, like, they messed up the animation.
Yeah, and so, like, this, like, really helped lean into the trend that was early 2000s animation movies having bloopers. Pixar movies did it. DreamWorks movies did it. Even some Disney movies did it. So, like, this was just a trend that happened at the time. There are still some, but more of the newer ones, I think, lean towards the, like, cinematic idea that Barbie is an actress in her own movies. Whereas this one, like, sort of hints at that, where, like, a lot of it does feel like actor and actress sort of bloops. Yeah. Whereas some of the Shrek ones were a little bit more like, oh, haha, we accidentally animated it silly. But, like, this was just a trend that was really big for the time. Like, most movies had this. You were pretty shocked not to have them.
Yeah, it was a pretty standard thing in most comedies.
In fact, like, this movie follows so many trends that I am a little shocked that there's not more stuff on the DVD menu, to be honest with you. Because we watched the copy that only has this movie. It's not the most recent copy.
It's the only copy you can get.
That you can get.
Okay. Some secret Barbie vault out there, I guess.
Not really. That's one of the weird things about Barbie movies, is unlike Disney, who is famous for re-releasing their shit over and over and over again, and calling it collectible and, like, limited release.
The Diamond Collection, that ain't worth shit now.
Yeah. And the only real Disney collectible stuff is stuff that you know is going to be pulled because it had some racial shit in it, or it was, you know, blatantly bad, or sold really poorly, or a lot of their early live-action shit, which, like, unless you had it on VHS tape, they are never re-releasing.
Or they don't want to see Donald Duck as a Nazi.
Exactly. Stuff that they're embarrassed by, right? Most of the rest of, like, Disney, DreamWorks, they re-release their crap pretty regularly. Disney re-releases things, but in kind of a weird way. They'll re-release things as a box set or as a group DVD, like I talked about, where, like, you have this movie plus another one.
Yeah, it's
plus
like the Scooby-Doo movies I pick up every now and then.
It is 100% like the Scooby-Doo movies, and part of that was because the only place you could watch this was DVD or Nickelodeon, and they weren't really worried about, like, collectors for these. It's kind of a more recent thing to be worried about, and I do think now that we've had live-action Barbie and it did so well, we might see a, like, new wave of, like, collector stuff for Barbie and the Barbie movies. But, like, Mattel was not worried about people actually buying this crap. This was for kids. They expected it to cost nothing. They expected these movies to be pretty low, like 10 or under.
Yeah, $10, $5 DVD bins.
100%. So, like, there are Barbie movies that are actually kind of hard to get a hold of. Especially some of the ones that were only released on TV or were interactive in some way. There's a couple that were that had some 3D elements that, like, that 3D-esness, there's a good chance that, like, we will lose those copies, like the true 3D copies. However, with that said, Barbie was always popular, and so, like, the likelihood of Barbie truly being a lost media, pretty low. Someone will have them, and if it becomes popular enough, it gives enough money, I am sure the whole collection will come back out. It will just be a weird, like, release. Okay. Mattel might not be into it, because, again, Mattel's focus is not the movies. It's the dolls, and it always has been, and it probably always will be. But with the new live action, there's a chance we might see a shift in how they release these.
Okay, I can see it going more to like streaming and stuff and whatnot.
They definitely did try to do streaming. Originally, all of these were Nickelodeon exclusives, mostly because Nickelodeon was the only one willing to air these.
It makes sense. I mean, Disney Channel, you have your own thing. Cartoon Network was definitely geared more towards boys.
Yeah, and Nickelodeon had a bunch of space for movies. That was part of like why people were into Nickelodeon, was for the movie part of Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon also had a lot of lead female characters. You had Kim Possible, the Wild Thornberrys. I'm sure there's other ones that I can't think of because I wasn't. Oh, That's So Raven.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or was that Disney?
No,
that was Disney because she did the whole.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But no, Nickelodeon definitely had the bandwidth for it. Technically, I don't think Nickelodeon is like the sole like streamer anymore. I think it's been kind of like re-released into the Netflix world. At least that's where the last couple that I have looked into have been like kind of sort of streaming. It's mostly DVDs now, which is too bad. But I think part of that is just because we're in a weird time with the streaming services and who has what and will be willing to show what. So we'll probably see a different shift, especially as the likelihood of normal TV or separate streaming services comes about.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing is, I know people love this movie.
A lot of people love this movie.
And here's the thing, and this might shock you. I can't say I totally hated it.
Yeah, I picked this one with a lot of consideration because there's a lot of Disney movies. And honestly, there's a lot of
Barbie movies.
Oh, sorry, Barbie movies. I'm thinking silly. No, there's a lot of Barbie movies, and there's a lot of very different Barbie movies. If there's a girl out there, there's probably a Barbie movie to match her, with the exception of a couple of, gothic sort of kids who, honestly, their vibe was probably Monster High and not Barbie.
Yeah, and I bitch about the musicals and the incompetence of the Queen, and also the talking animals.
Well, sure, but
the core of the movie is decent. Like, if I had a young daughter, I wouldn't have any issues with this movie because it is like the main characters, while in love with the male counterparts, are not relying on them.
Yeah.
They're taking action first, but figuring it out in their own ways. But they're also like not saying, "Oh no, we can't have male help." It's like, okay, you're here. We love you guys.
Yeah.
You're helping us, but you didn't help us get 100% out.
100%. And honestly, that's kind of why the Barbie franchise, despite the fact that Mattel doesn't push it very hard, they don't even try super hard with the animated CGI launch and series. This is the reason why people are really into this, even as adults. I am not one of the only ones who have seen over 30 Barbie movies, and honestly, a lot of it by accident. It's because most of these movies are decent. Granted, the CGI looks bad. It's meant to. It looks a specific way because it is meant to look a specific way. The stories are a specific way because it's Mattel. It all makes sense. It is all logical. And that's why a lot of people are really into this stuff.
Yeah, no, and I get it. I mean,
oh yeah,
if I had grown up on it and was interested in Barbie, yeah, I can see it. I mean, going back, I'm seeing this as an adult, so I mean, granted the humor is rough for me, but sure. I can see kids appreciating it. Like, there is enough to this movie that as an adult, I wouldn't hate it in the background.
Oh, for sure, and there is something to also be said about the fact that the entirety of the cinematic Barbie universe was created because Barbie dolls weren't selling super well. The movies helped a lot. There's a lot of people who have very specific memories of watching a Barbie movie and then requesting that Barbie or that dream house for Christmas. And it's not necessarily because they're ads like they are with, say, with Lego, Bionicle, or Bionicle, or Hot Wheels, where it is a honestly pretty in your face advertisement for the thing. Not necessarily a bad thing. That's what kids stuff likes. They want to see the thing, they want to play with it the same way they saw on TV. The Barbie movies manage to skirt around that. You can get all of them. Most of the time, every Barbie movie usually has a Barbie or Barbie thing that goes with the movie. But it is not a direct advertisement. In fact, the DVD doesn't even come with an advertisement for the toys, which is kind of impressive.
Comes up with advertisements or trailers for the other Barbie movies.
Which is also surprising because, again, Mattel doesn't expect to make money off of these movies.
Oh, no, they 100%. That's why they're low budget and they were on TV first.
Oh yeah, no, they knew what they were doing. And it's really impressive that these worked the way they did, because We have seen other specifically doll-themed lines that have their own TV or movie franchise where one works significantly better than the other, and Barbie's kind of the outlier in the fact that, like, both work equally well. They stand alone, apart from each other, and they stand with each other perfectly well.
I guess I don't know any of the others because I'm only thinking of like Chucky, the Toy Master, and Megan.
The two main competitors for the Barbie cinematic universe are the My Little Pony franchise and the Monster High franchise, both of which do very well in their own worlds, right? Like, the toys for both of those do well, and the TV show for both of those does do well, despite who watches them.
I love the awkward panels for My Little Pony where someone comes up and asks like a very adult and awkward question, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not answering that.
Yeah.
And it still happens every single time.
Unfortunately, and it's part of why the Barbie cinematic universe does stand alone. Monster High, the TV show, is significantly more popular, or the movies are significantly more popular than the dolls, and most of the dolls' popularity is aimed directly at doll remakers and adults who are interested in the collection or the remakeability, where you take the face and the hair off and make your own custom dolls. Barbie, some people are, but for the most part, this has hit its target audience in both the franchise and in the toy industry, but separately with a jointness. It is very unique, and it's very impressive that they have managed to have this happen for over 20 years.
You have a big established brand, you just roll with it.
Absolutely, and granted, a lot of people think that the newer Barbie movies, something that I honestly not super familiar with, I've seen a few, but a lot of people think that a lot of the original heart of the first 15 to 20-ish Barbie movies kind of got lost, because a lot of them are a lot more basic child level, like, ooh, horse, we love horse. Puppies, we love puppies.
Baby shark, do.
Just a hair, but at no point has it truly fallen in the same way that, like, the Land Before Time franchise did, where it, like, really took a nosedive after, like, 10 or 15.
It took a nosedive off after the first, like, 3.
Yeah, where, like, it clearly moved from being a for kids and general kids audience to specifically preschooler.
Yeah, then you get into the aliens, and then you get into, like, the weird Western one.
Yeah, and so, honestly, the franchise I compare the Disney Cinematic Universe to
Barbie.
the Barbie Cinematic Universe the best, is Scooby-Doo. Because while Scooby-Doo doesn't necessarily have the toy line that Barbie does, the ability to maintain a reputable, interesting, and following of a goofy movie series where anything under the sun has and probably will happen, still has a fan franchise and still makes some money, despite neither franchise thought they were going to make money doing these things. Both have. I'm very impressed, and I do still enjoy them sometimes.
Okay. So, Chris, on a good, bad, weird scale, how do you rate Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper?
Look, I like this movie, but it is bad. It is a bad movie, but in a way that is good and enjoyable. It is a kids' movie, but it is not a good kids' movie. At no point is it going to win awards. I know it was nominated for multiple, but for me, this is a delightfully bad movie.
Okay. I am probably in a weird vein gonna give it a good, bad rating, because that's the thing is, like, where there's parts that I don't like it because just me, it's not my thing.
Sure.
I can see where there is good and why people enjoy this movie and why this would be something you would show a kid. I mean,
sure.
It is a strong female role model without, like, granted, they're a little ditzy, but they're not so dumb compared to, like, many of the other movies that are out there like it. So, would you recommend Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper?
Yes. Granted, I say that as, like, this movie anybody could watch. Most people who are going to like this are going to be kids and kid-adjacent adults. However, with that said, this is one of the ones that I think if you're going to start your introduction to the Barbie universe, this is a great one to start with, and then just kind of pick and play with whichever ones sound interesting to you. This has a little bit of everything. It will get you ready for the rest of the movies that possibly could happen. And at the same time, this is, for a lot of people, the number one. So if you're going to watch only one Barbie animated movie, I would recommend this one.
Yeah, even though I say it's good, bad, I can only selectively recommend this one.
Sure.
And it would be to parents of children that are girls.
Sure.
That's the extent that I could recommend this movie to. or to piss off my brothers when they have kids.
Absolutely. There are 52 current other movies you can use to piss off your brothers and their children.
Oh, I've got more than that.
I know you do, but you pick a theme, whatever thing they're currently into, there's a movie for them. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper, and we do get one more mic review from Chris for the bad category, one that is sickeningly sweet.
Oh, absolutely. Gotta go to the other end of my interests here.
Now we get into my territory, the weird.
Absolutely.
So, but anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.